Recorded Books and RB Digital present Hawkmistress by Marion Zimmer Bradley. Narrated by Alyssa Bresnahan. Book 1. Falcon Sword in the Kilgard Hills. Chapter 1. Romilly was so weary that she could hardly stand on her feet. It was dark in the mews, with no light but a carefully shielded lantern hanging from one rafter. But the eyes of the hawk were as bright, as untamed, and filled with rage as ever. No, Romilly reminded herself, not rage alone, but terror. She is afraid. She doesn't hate me. She is only afraid. She could feel it all inside herself, that terror which pounded behind the rage, until she hardly knew which was herself, weary, her eyes burning, ready to fall into the dirty straw in an exhausted heap, and what was flooding into her mind from the brain of the hawk: hatred, fear, a wild frenzy of hunger for blood and for freedom. Even as Romilly pulled the small sharp knife from her belt and carefully cut a piece from the carcass placed conveniently near, she was shaking with the effort not to strike out, to pull away in a frenzy from the strap that held her. No, not her, held the hawk, to the falcon block. Merciless leathers, cutting her feet. The hawk baited, wings flapping and thrashing, and Romilly jerked, with a convulsive reflex action, and the strip of raw meat fell into the straw. Romilly felt the struggle inside herself, the fury and frenzy of terror, as if the leather lines holding the big bird to the block were tying her, too, cutting into her feet in agony. She tried to bend, to search for the meat calmly, but the emotions of the hawk, flooding into her mind, were too much for her. She flung her hands over her eyes and moaned aloud, letting it all become part of her, the crashing frenzy of wings, beating, beating. Once, the first time this had happened to her, more than a year ago, she had run out of the mews in panic, running and running until she stumbled and skidded and fell, a hand's breadth from the edges of the crags that tumbled down from the castle Falconsward to the very rocks of the Kadaran far below. She must not let it go so deep into her mind. She must remember that she was human, was Romilly MacArron. She forced her breathing back to calm, remembering the words of the young Laronis who had talked with her, briefly and in secret, before returning to Tremontana Tower. "You have a rare gift, child, one of the rarest of the gifts called Laren. I don't know why your father is so bitter, why he will not let you and your sister and brothers be tested and trained to the use of these gifts. Surely he must know that an untrained telepath is a menace to herself and to everyone around her. He himself has the gift in full measure." Romilly knew, and she suspected the Laronis knew too, but out of loyalty to her father she wouldn't speak of it outside the family, and the Laronis was a stranger, after all. The MacArron had given her hospitality, as with any guest, but had coldly refused the purpose of the woman's visit, to test the children of the Falconsward for Laren gifts. "You are my guest, Domna Merrily, and I have lost one son to the accursed towers, which blight our land and lure the sons of honest men, aye, and their daughters too, from home and family loyalties. You may shelter beneath this roof while the storm lasts, and have all that belongs to a guest in honor, but keep your prying hands from the minds of my children." Lost one son to the accursed towers, Romilly thought, remembering her brother Riven, who had fled to Niskaya Tower, across the Kadaran 4 years ago. And like to lose another, for even I can see that Darren is more fit for the tower or the monastery of Navarson than for the airship to Falconsward. Darren would have been still in Navarson, as custom demanded of a nobleman's son in the hill country, and had wished to remain. But, obedient to their father's will,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?